We're in trances, going all to different places, different planets. Watch your aura pass me by, losing balance. What if we run out of time and second chances? Empty-handed, you love fast life.
Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk with Sandra. Today's episode is part 2 of my visit to Tennessee. And I'm naming it Tulips for Hannah. The main reason why I went to Tennessee was to help plant tulip bulbs for Hannah Eimers, a 17-year-old who lost her life when she impacted a Lindsay X-Light. In 2018, I also lost my son, P.F.C. Michael Anthony Carter Jr., when he impacted a Lindsay X-Light. Throughout that walk, her father, Steve, and I became advocate trying to get X-Light removed nationwide. What you're going to see are some videos of Steve and I as we did several missions, on maybe 2 or 3 missions, trying to get the X-Light removed. You will also see clips of Hannah's crash, clips of Mike's crash, and that is going to get you to understanding, to give you the understanding rather of why Steve and I have become entwined, and why he is my brother, and why I have such love for him, because without him I would not be the person that I am today, and I would not know or have the knowledge about X-Lights that I do now. You will also see clips of me planting the first tulip bulbs for Anna, and the site where she actually lost her life. Excuse me. This entire visit, even though it was absolutely joyful because I had the opportunity to visit with Steve and his family, who are now my family, it is also painful because every time we're together as a family or a group and we look at each other, we see each other, we understand the pain of the loss of a child, especially so young, when they haven't had an opportunity to grow and into adulthood truly, to do the things that they were probably would have been championed at. Like Hannah, who volunteered her time and did so much for her community. She was a loving, caring, kind young lady. My son was the same. I hope that you enjoy this episode. I hope that you will share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for supporting Let's Talk with Sandra. Have a blessed day. Peace and love.
February 7th, 2018. My son, Private First Class Michael Anthony Carter Jr., was killed after impacting a defective Lindsay X-Light guardrail terminal end on his way to work at a Marine Corps recruiting office in Salisbury, Maryland, where he served as a recruiter's assistant while awaiting his training in logistics. Michael was my youngest son. He was a good student and a proud United States Marine. He was a hero and died in uniform in line of duty. He now rests in Arlington National Cemetery with other fallen heroes. These are my son's boots. He wore these boots in basic training. He walked 253.8 miles in these boots. 54.5 of these miles he walked carrying 80 pounds on his back in order to transition from a recruit to a Marine. I still remember the call, "Mom, I made it, I'm a Marine." I keep them with me as a reminder of his strength and determination, and to give me the strength and determination that I will need in my fight with the state of Maryland in order to get these defective guardrails removed and replaced from our roadways. My son died serving his country, and now I feel it's time for his country / his state to serve him from removing these deadly products off our roadways and hopefully save another life. I would like to thank Steve Eimers for inviting me here and giving me the opportunity to testify before you on the senseless death of my son due to this product. I would also like to thank Jimmy Medlock for championing this cause, and thank you all in the state of Tennessee for all that you've done and for removing these products off your roadways. And maybe if Maryland had listened to Steve when he asked them to remove these products, maybe my son would still be alive, serving his country as the great Marine that he was. And I thank you for having me here today.
And Carter are not only grieving parents, they have become advocates for safer roads, and now they're turning to Congress for help in their mission.
I don't want to have another Sandra call me.
Steve Eimers and Sandra Johnson Carter are bound together by tragedy. Their teenagers died in separate guardrail crashes. Now they're fighting for change in the memory of their children and the many others who have lost their lives the same way.
George and Crystal, P.F.C, Michael Anthony Carter and Tyler, Hannah Eimers, Lauren Jacob Wilbert.
Steve and Sandra believe the particular type of guardrail their children hit is defective.
We could have avoided this with integrity in the systems.
They'd like to see the Federal Highway Administration take more responsibility in the oversight of guardrails, and they're not alone. This 2016 report from the Government Accountability Office found weaknesses in the system. According to the report, 6 of the 9 accredited labs evaluate products that were developed by employees of the parent organization, something that doesn't sit well with Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen.
You shouldn't have the manufacturer be the same party that is making determinations about whether or not their product is defective.
The report goes on to say the Federal Highway Administration does not have a process for formally verifying the testing outcomes. The GAO recommended that Federal Highway develop a third-party verification process, something that's still not in place 3 years later. Another concern, the lack of information available when it comes to how guardrails perform in real-world crashes. The GAO recommended that the Federal Highway Administration continue to work with states on developing a way to collect that data.
And the recommendations are important steps to improve safety and prevent deaths.
Steve and Sandra had the chance to talk with Senator Van Hollen in his office. We watched from outside as the senator took about 15 minutes out of his busy schedule to chat with them. It's an issue he's very familiar with.
I serve on the Environment and Public Works Committee, and we included in the transportation bill that we passed a few weeks ago a provision directing the Federal Highway Administration to implement the GAO recommendations from 3 years ago.
But that bill is still making its way through Congress, and Senator Van Hollen says these life-saving changes can't wait.
I am sending a letter to the Federal Highway Administration demanding an update on their implementation of those recommendations.
Here's a copy of that letter. It was also signed by Maryland Senator Ben Cardin. The Federal Highway Administration told us they are preparing a response for the senators, and they did not want to provide a comment for our story. But the letter does show that in May of this year, Federal Highway said it expected to have the third-party verification in place by mid to late 2020. And as for the information from real-world crashes, Federal Highway says a report from a pilot program that ended this past January won't be ready until December 2020.
We're going to be holding their feet to the fire to implement these recommendations as soon as possible.
Support that Steve and Sandra are happy to have as they continue their fight to improve safety on our roads.
This is why we're on Capitol Hill. This is why we're here.
And Senator Van Hollen requested a response from Federal Highway by this Friday. As you know, we're going to keep you posted on that.
As the mother of a young Marine, Sandra Johnson knew there were certain risks her son might face in the military. But she never imagined his life would end like this. It's been 6 months since Sandra received that call.
But every day you wake up, it's like the first day of hearing, I'm sorry he didn't make it. And I miss it every day.
On a February morning, as Marine Corps Private Michael Carter headed to the recruiting office where he worked, his car swerved off the road and struck the end of a guardrail. Jessica Wilkinson was just a few cars behind him.
It definitely was a full impact right there at the beginning base of that guardrail.
The Lindsay X-Light is designed to collapse like a telescope, but that's dependent on a number of factors such as speed and angle. At the time of Carter's crash, the state of Maryland had stopped installing the X-Light, but hundreds remained.
Our decision is based purely on guidance given from our federal partner.
Even though other states had started to remove the X-Light because of drivers being impaled, Maryland had no such plans.
To date, we have absolutely no incidents of unusual circumstance involving an X-Light guardrail end treatment.
Carter died just weeks after that interview. Since then, Sandra has been on a mission of her own to get Maryland to remove the controversial guardrail ends. On Friday, an SHA administrator asked to meet with her.
So we sat and spoke about Mike. We watched a little bit of film of his funeral service. Greg Slater then told me, looked me in the eye, and told me that we are removing the X-Lights off the streets of Maryland.
According to the SHA, the decision was not the result of Michael's accident, but despite our repeated requests, the SHA has yet to say exactly when the decision was made to remove them.
Now it's done. Now it's done.
Joy LaPola, Fox 45 News.
Okay, we're in Tennessee. Right here, I'm with Steve Eimers. His daughter, Hannah, lost her life here when she impacted a Lindsay X-Light that was improperly installed. The same as my son, P.F.C. Michael Carter. And today, in her honor, we're going to plant some tulip bulbs in the ground over there to honor Hannah. Let's go. Thank you. Digging this hole, I want to put the first bulb in the ground in honor of Hannah. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this all week. The ground is kind of hard because there's been no rain out here in Tennessee, but we're going to make something happen. Thank you, Father God. Thank you. Get my ball. So, Mark, so.
Find a good one. There you go.
Thank you, Lord. All right. I know I never got the opportunity to meet you, but just listening to all the things that you did, you were a great person, just like my son was great. And I know that you were in heaven, and I know that one day I will meet you. And today I'm going to put these first bulbs in here. I've been excited. I couldn't sleep. Here you go. I put them all the way in.
Yep, facing upwards.
Put them all the way in. There you go. Look at these. Take this. Come. Let them see.
Yep, first ones.
Yes, first ones. Yes. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. It's hard, but it's in there. It's in there. We need some rain.
I know. I was praying for that mist that went up from the ground in Genesis. I was like, can you give us some of that?
There you go, baby. There you go. I'm going to come back next year because I'm going to see this. Put my marker right here.
Yeah.
Does the other side break through better?
Thank you, Father.
It just looks like wherever the grass is, that's what I'm estimating. The more grass and stuff.
They dug a bunch of holes around here, so we can put a few in there. It's supposed to be about 2 inches down, so 2 or 3.
Yes, yes. She's smiling.
Take a couple more.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, thanks for coming down.
Me out here to do this.
That's a hole
Thank
that
you.
I have. It's not been filled, has it?
I love you guys.
This one I just dug.
I got to clean the dirt.
I was saying, I was looking at you two out here, thinking that, or saying you guys look like you just got out of prison and you're looking upward.
He said we look like a chain gang.
You're the treasure. I know it's around here somewhere.
He just came out of work release.
This is rural.
You never know.
They're called the cops.
I won't blame you if they show up.
And take off running.
Forced labor.
I'm the director of public works. This is a city project.
We do have one of those vests that you can buy at Walmart but still look official in.
That's what we need here.
You need to go get your vest done.
We need some prisoners.
Yeah, I told you I used to have like 3 truckloads of guys doing this kind of stuff. And we'll love them because they get an opportunity to get out, enjoy the weather.
We're going to get rain this week. Did you hear me? Rain is coming. I felt it in my stomach because I was close. I moved it. What? That's the question. No.
She was out and you need to stay under the boat.
I need to go down there and look because I think that might have just in the last hour that truck was really getting hit.
What truck? What, you saw it?
Yeah, the truck on the other side, and there's just
You saw it get hit while you were here?
yeah. I think that it may have just gotten hit in the last hour
What truck is it?
on the other side of the
There's a
interstate.
truck sitting there?
Yeah. So I'll be right back. I'm actually go look.
Trying to keep it close.
Actually walk over. Actually crash.
We're in trances, going all to different places, different planets. Watch your aura pass me by, losing balance. What if we run out of time and second chances? Empty